You've been regarded by both Jeff Brom and Aiden O'Connell as a very humble, almost modest style of athlete. You also said in an interview that even with coming into a more permanent position of running back recently, your mindset hasn't changed at all, and you just want to go in there and get the job done. So where do you think this spirit of humility and modesty and just kind of being understated that everyone is talking about, where do you think that comes from?
I definitely think it comes from just my parents and like my upbringing. I was always told and taught to be like sort of humble and not to brag or boast about myself or anything like that, because doing that just brings more problems for yourself. And just I've never been the type of guy who likes a person like that, so I've always tried to keep myself humble.
Okay, gotcha. You've also mentioned in several interviews that scoring your first collegiate touchdown, you said, "This is my dream ever since being a little kid, ever since being a little kid." How old were you when you started football, and why did you get into it?
I started, it would have been in first grade. My dad actually was the president of our youth football league program, so that's how I sort of got into it. So I was just grew up around it all the time, so that's sort of how I got into it.
Gotcha. And then also, you also said that you were a big fan of DeMarco Murray as a kid. Why DeMarco Murray, and why did you want to be like him?
So growing up, our family was always Cowboys fans, so DeMarco Murray was like the running back of the Cowboys like when I was growing up. So every time I'd be watching TV with like my dad and whatnot, it was always DeMarco out there running and whatnot. So that's what I always wanted to model myself after.
Gotcha. All right, you've been quoted several times calling Purdue your dream school and where you wanted to end up from the start, even, turning down the Navy, the financial and the military benefits with that only 2 weeks before getting shipped off. What was it about Purdue that when it came down to it, you decided to take the chance? And was it the engineering, or was it?
It was definitely the engineering up front, because you always know about the reputation of a mechanical engineering degree from Purdue. That and just being able to stay as close as I could to home.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's talk mechanical engineering for a second. Purdue's mechanical engineering program is ranked number 6 in the world right now. It's a very technical major and one of the most technical and difficult majors that we have. What is a typical day of work like for you with your school?
So waking up,
how early are you waking up?
Depends on the day, but it can get up to as early as like 5 in the morning if we have a morning lift before class. But I'll get up at 5. Sometimes we have a lift at like 6 in the morning.
Okay.
And then I'll basically have class from 8:30 till about 1:20, and then leave straight from class, come here, and then have meetings and practice, and then go home and do some more homework or whatever projects I have after.
Yeah, and then do it all again the next day?
All again the next day.
Dang. Okay, so you're kind of like a person that everything is scheduled for you every single day for...
Pretty much,
yeah.
Pretty much.
So what do you do when that kind of like that pressure is building on you? Like, what is your support system like? Is it your teammates, your family, your coaches, your friends? Who do you lean on, and like what do you do to like make sure that the pressure doesn't build up and you don't get burned out?
I lean on my friends mostly. I have my friends DeAndre and Scoob back home that I'm always talking to every time I get a chance that I can get on the game. I try and get on the game with them and talk and whatnot, and just have fun and decompress. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And then also, we have been told that you also are, it's pretty well known that you're like a car guy and you're pretty big on working on cars. Tell me more about that, and when did that start?
So my family we're a drag racing family.
Okay.
So I always grew up around cars and whatnot. So going into high school, I went into a technical program my junior and senior year. So I went half days to a technical school in the automotive program. And so I'm a certified mechanic right now.
Wow.
So
okay.
I've just always been love being around cars and working on cars.
Gotcha.
Xander also had a car thing, right?
Yeah, Xander was also a big car guy too. So me and him, we'd be at practice talking about cars just randomly at random times.
Gotcha. And then also, do you have time to work on the cars during the season, or not at all?
Not while I'm up here. I don't have time. Back home, I have a Fox body Mustang that I like to work on, but up here, I don't got time. Usually, when other guys have problems with their cars, I usually just go and help them fix it real quick, but
Gotcha.
That's as much as I get.
Gotcha. So working on cars and everything makes sense with the degree, but you also play guitar. Specifically, you mentioned a lot of Metallica. Where does that come from, and how often are you playing guitar these days?
So it'll be 3 years in January, and
Okay.
how I got into it, I don't know. I was just sort of curious, really. So I would always just hear about it. And my sister actually got a guitar a few years before I did, and it always just kind of sat in her room. So I would always go grab it from her
Gotcha.
and try and play. So I was just like, I need my own guitar. I don't want to try and learn. So
Gotcha,
I ended up
gotcha.
teaching myself.
And is this an electric guitar that you're playing?
I started out with acoustic, and then I ended up getting electric about
Gotcha.
a year and a half
Gotcha.
ago.
And are you listening to a lot of heavy metal or Metallica or anything when you're lifting, or does it depend on the day?
Very broad range. It's very just on a whatever I feel like listening to at the moment. It's a lot of different genres.
Gotcha. Okay, and then last question. You have a lot of nicknames. You have nicknames, like different nickname every week, every article. Where are all these nicknames coming from? Which one's your favorite? You know?
I don't even know where they're coming from really, because there's so many I can't even keep count now. But Mock Train was always the one that I've loved since high school, because that's what I had in high school. But I've picked up Soap since
Yeah,
I've
where
gotten
does
here.
that come from?
That's from our running backs coach, Chris Barclay. He was talking about me being slippery and like just running and people not being able to hold on to me. So I guess that's where I got Soap from. And then Crazy Legs as well. I
Crazy
guess Coach
Legs,
Brown
yeah.
called me Crazy Legs, just the way I run. But
Gotcha. Okay,